Welcome back to the 2023 World Cup. And we have the man himself, the 2023 World Cup winner, Grandmaster Magnus Carlsen, is here in the studio to offer his insights on an incredible run. Magnus, this is the final feather in your cap.
Actually, let's put it. You're right. The speed, I can put the speed faster. I can put it at like 1.5 probably. So let's watch it.
Congratulate you warmly on an amazing final match against Prague. First things first, there's already a lot of buzz over the tweet that you put out shortly after winning. That tweet contains a GIF. We're going to play that tweet here really quickly for the chat. Let me start by asking, can you elucidate the deeper meaning behind that tweet and that GIF?
Yeah, I told my social media guy, like, I don't want to jinx this too hard. I told him yesterday, like, I don't want to jinx it too hard, but I've been thinking that this is when I want to post if I
no, this is it's too fast. I got to go 1.25. It's too fast. Yeah, I got to go 1.5. Okay.
So, I think it's kind of self-explanatory in a way.
Let me ask a slightly more philosophical question, Magnus. This is, of course, the final feather in your cap. You've now won every significant chess tournament at least once, including the World Championship, of course, and now the World Cup. Does this victory in any way change your relationship to classical chess, and does it change your motivations and desires as you continue your chess career and your focus?
That's a very good question. Maybe it changes something a little bit with regards to the World Cup specifically. I wouldn't say it increases the chances that I'm going to play this event again. That's for sure. Apart from that,
okay, I'm gonna tell you my read on. So first things first, I'm gonna tell you what my read on him saying that is. Like, I maybe I'm wrong on this. My read on it is that Magnus winning this is basically like I'll put it in like, in my view, it's probably like, man, I spent 3 weeks playing this like grueling event because I'd never won it before. I don't think I'm gonna play it again. That's my actual read of it. He didn't say it, but that's what I think he's thinking inside. I do believe that's what he's thinking. He's thinking, man, like, it took me like 3 weeks to win this event. Like, oh, it's so difficult. Like, now that I won it, I don't think I'll play it again. And he was kind of smiling, so I suspect that I'm right on what I think he's saying there. I'm right for sure. Okay, let's keep going then.
I think that it already, like, at least for a bit, maybe for a year or so, I felt that I'm only really playing classical chess on sort of special occasions, either because it's at home, like in Norway chess, or it's a massive tradition like Tata, or
okay. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm starting to laugh a little bit at this. The reason I'm starting to laugh at this is because this is exactly what I would say too. This is like, it's just kind of funny because he's saying the exact same thing that I would say, because like for me it's the same way. Like, obviously it's different. I'm not the world champion. I haven't won every tournament. But when I play tournaments, when I play classical chess, the only reason I play classical tournaments is because like there's like a specific reason. It's like a qualifier for the candidates, or if it's a tournament like Norway chess, which we both played in, because I really like the organizers, I like the location, and I like the people who are there, frankly. So that's why I started laughing. You're probably like, why am I laughing at that? It's because it's actually the exact same thing. It's pretty much the exact same thing that I feel.
It's either for for family or for social reasons that I play. And yeah, I think in terms of the World Cup, winning the World Cup wasn't really a thing for me before 2017. And after I did so poorly, I was thinking that I cannot let this be my legacy from the World Cup. And so I felt that I corrected quite a bit of that in 2021, when I had a very good event. I was third, winning 6 out of 7 matches, and I won a lot of classical games there as well. And I didn't have any particular plans of playing this year. To be honest, I mean, I did have other plans during the event that sort of
I feel like a certain person won Norway chess in June, and I think they weren't going to play the World Cup either, because they had other plans. Anyway, let's keep going.
That fell through, and so I only really registered at the last moment after Norway chess, when the other plans had fallen through, and then it was maybe a bit of an emotional decision after Norway Chess, thinking that, I played so poorly now in classical. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to like. I don't want to, be let that be the impression of me in classical. So let's play something else. Try and give a better account of myself. And to be honest, I was regretting the choice a little bit along the way, because I was thinking, like, coming up to the tournament, I didn't particularly want to play, and I even expressed it during the event that I wasn't really sure what I'm doing here. But yeah, of course, as the tournament went along, it was clear that the only goal here was to win. Like, I could have a good event again, but really the only thing that would, to any extent, satisfy me is winning the event. And
True.
I don't think that's necessarily a good attitude to have, but that's what I felt. And
well, you know, when Magnus says that it's not necessarily a good attitude to have, like, he's not wrong there, because the problem with the World Cup very specifically is that at the end of the day, I mean, this time was a little bit different because essentially the top 4 players ended up being happy, but most of the time with the World Cup, only the top 2 players end up being happy. So basically, like, if you go into an event like where it's not going to be a success unless you win, and you're playing with 128 other players, you're probably not going to win. Like, most players, if they're lucky, they have like one really deep run where they make the semifinals or the finals. Like, the only person I think who has ever done really well in the event, maybe there's more than one, but is Levon Aroni, who I think has actually won the World Cup 2 times. But for most players, they have like one great run. And I'll give you another example. It's like when you look at Sam Shanklin, who's like a 2,700 American player. Last time the World Cup was held, he was like number 20, 25, whatever he was, and he actually made it to, I think, the semifinals, or maybe it was the quarterfinals, and he lost a very, very brutal match to Sergei Karyakin. Comes back 2 years later, and in this World Cup, he loses his very first match that he played. So for a lot of players, you have like one deep run, which is why if you go into it with the mindset of winning, most likely you're going to be unhappy. And specifically, this event makes it very, very difficult. So let's keep going.
I've done it. I can relax a bit.
Yeah, Magnus, let me also enter the stage. First of all, a very big congratulations. I understand what it means to you winning the World Cup, the only missing title. And my very first question is that giving up the classical title last year, did this add the pressure that now that you play the World Cup, you have to win it at all cost?
I think to some extent, it does add a bit of pressure, but I felt like what was adding more pressure is that I've done so poorly in classical recently.
Fair. Yes, fair.
Like, even if I was not world champion, if it was very clear from my results in classical chess that I'm still comfortably the best player in the world, then yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't have played here. So yeah, that's that.
Oh man. So basically what Magnus is basically saying two things, just to clarify for anyone who's wondering. First of all, he's saying he had other plans which fell through, which I'm sure you'll hear more about in the future. And then secondly, what he's saying that basically if he wasn't playing such bad classical chess, he would not have played the event at all. So that to put it in plain English.
I think it was more my poor results in classical this year that gave me some pressure and led me to play here more than the world championship title, or lack thereof.
And my follow-up question would have been that you have faced tons of brilliant youngsters. What is your take on Vincent Keimer, Gukesh, and Pragnananda? It was sensational what we have witnessed during the World Cup.
Yeah, it's a little bit funny that I faced almost zero like players in their prime. I played Turkey, and then I played three youngsters.
True.
So obviously they are very, very strong. I think I was lucky that I feel like I had by far my best day and game of the event against Gukesh on the first day. I think otherwise that match would have been extremely tough. As for the others, they're
I absolutely I agree exactly what he's saying too. I think the best game that Magnus played was that first game against Gukesh by far. Like his game against Vincent, which he won, I mean, he got a little bit lucky, don't forget that, but definitely when you look at it, The Gukesh game was the best game he played, and then the second game, of course, I mean, he got into trouble, but he already had that cushion. So this is definitely, I would agree with what Magnus is saying here.
Very, very strong. Vincent pushed me the hardest. He was one move away from eliminating me and leaving everything else moot. So I think they're all very, very good. Gukesh is clearly the strongest classical player right now. And then you have Prague and Abdusatorov, who are really strong, but also mentality monsters. And
again, like, yeah, I mean, this is like, I've said this too, like, basically, yeah, he's saying exactly what I've said. I mean, Gukesh is very clearly the best junior when it comes to classical chess. When it comes to rapid, I think it's a little bit, I think it's much murkier. Like, I think that probably based on the play of Prague in the rapids, I would almost say that I think Prague right now is based on what he did in the World Cup, playing as myself, Magnus, and Fabi. Probably, I would say right now he's better in rapid. I think based on that, the result playing as all three of us, that Prague right now is the guy to beat, of the, like, not beat, but of the juniors, the one that you look out for the most in rapid. So let's keep going.
I think on a tier slightly below we have Vincent and a few others, but what I think is very clear is that chess is in good hands for the future. I think this generation of players born from 1990 to 94 really have dominated for a long time, and finally now with these youngsters born 2003 and after, we have sort of a generation that's worthy of successing us when the time comes, and the time could be fairly soon.
Yeah, also, you're probably wondering why I'm shaking my head. I'm just shaking my head because when I hear Magnus say 2003, I'm like, I don't know. Like, to me, the idea of people being born in the 2000s is just like, I don't know. I feel really old when I hear that. It's just like insane. It's just insane. It's just crazy to hear. But he's saying 2003. I assume the reason Magnus is saying 2003, let me see, is probably because, let me go to 2700. It's 2003 Ali Reza. Ali Reza is 20, so Ali Reza is Ali Reza is 2003. So yeah, he's basically talking like Ali Reza and people Ali Reza's age, give or take a couple of years, so 20 and younger essentially. All right, let's keep going.
Magnus, let me put one personal curiosity to bed. Back to your match against Vincent, where you had that very impressive endgame conversion in the second game. So two related questions. The first, I'm assuming that you spotted knight takes e4 the moment that you allowed bishop takes e3. So my first question is, did you in fact see that during the game, and sort of what goes through your head?
He did see it, but when did he see
it? The move. And then related to that, at what point in that game did you start believing that you had a serious chance of coming back? Was it the moment that he took your queen on c3?
Well, first of all, my move a3 was incredibly stupid because there was really no upside to it. I could have made a move like bishop g3, instead kicking the queen away and then played a3. I think it just speaks to the fact that it's really, really hard to play for a win on demand. And I know that I'm usually not in the right state of mind when I do, and I usually play significantly worse. And I think that's how you make these sorts of oversights, that you sort of tense up and you start to think about the result rather than the process. And I mean, I've been around for a long time, so I know these things, but it's still kind of hard to do. As for the moment itself, as I explained another time, he flinched a bit when I played a3, which is usually a tell that you've done something wrong. And then of course I spotted the trick immediately, and I thought I was out of the tournament. In terms of when I thought I'd get chances, I thought when he chopped off my queen, that was such a huge relief.
True.
And I thought at that moment that the endgame was a bit better for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Took me just a little time.
basically what Magnus is saying here is he's basically saying like it's the same as like, you know, when I see a game and I see a move, like if I'm playing Blitz, it's like it moves wrong, it's like that doesn't seem right. Like probably Vincent was like he wasn't expecting A3, so it's a slight like hesitation, or it seemed like the wrong move, but Vincent couldn't put it together, basically is what he's saying. But you know, the question that I think Darks for the raid, by the way, but the question that I was wondering about is like, because Magnus did get up from the board, I thought Magnus got up from the board, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought he got up from the board. It's like, it's very reminiscent of when in the World Championship against Anand, Magnus put, I think, the king on the wrong square, and Anand could have won the game. And it's like Magnus then, I think when he got up the board after playing Vishy, he like knew he made a mistake. I think if there's video of that, he literally like he made the move, and I think he wrote the move down, and he didn't drop the pen, like he was holding the pen for like an extra second or two. When he made the blunder, but he got up and went away from the board. I was wondering like if it's the same thing. Like Danny didn't ask this, but it's very, very reminiscent of that game against Anand from the World Championship in like 2014 or 2016 or whatever it was.
Time though to realize that even the end game is pretty much unwinnable, which just speaks to how poor a move A3 was. And then for the next few moves, I was really just trying to play a bit psychologically. I was seeing that he was a little bit tense, a little bit nervous. Like some of his moves were, I thought, overcautious. So I thought I should try and give him as many choices as possible. And he was clearly hesitating, for instance, whether to play A5, which is more or less forced me to play A4, and I very much understand why he wouldn't do it, because it looks like the structure is closed and there is some potential for white to get the knight to B5, and then afterwards start moving on the
go for the
king side, and you sort of feel that you're just gonna have to wait. And I think like move by move, it's not realistic that I can get these setups, but I think he just didn't want to clarify that situation immediately. And once I got in the break F4, E5, I really started to believe. And there, after the time control, even though I thought the position was obviously still a draw objectively, I had a pretty clear target to push the A pawn. It was hard for him to create real counterplay on the king side, because it was just really slow. So I thought he would have to find a way to hold rather than to get serious counterplay, and that's very unpleasant psychologically. So I felt from that moment on, I felt really calm. I thought as long as he cannot force the draw or get obvious counterplay, then I should eventually get winning chances. So, you know, the rest, I guess, is history.
True.
Yeah, Magnus, one thing about today's rapid match. We have heard that you had food poisoning, you have been suffering the last couple of days, but yesterday you shocked the world by playing on the CCC qualifier. You have played 8 games, that kind of, and you scored 7.5 points against incredible players. That was kind of a clear statement for the chessboard that, yes, I'm ready to fight.
True.
What were your thoughts by playing that qualifier?
Well, first of all, apologies to the players whom I beat and may have taken some chances away. I really just wanted to play a few games to warm up. As I've spoken about before, rapid chess is a mix between classical and blitz. So getting some blitz warm up, I thought, would be good. And I also wanted to see like if my brain actually works. And thought the answer was kind of, because even though I had a good score, the
some of the
games
games were pretty bad. Yeah,
there were several reasons why I quit when I did. First of all, I could see that, well, my level was not so good, but it was okay. I'd sort of gotten the answers I wanted. I didn't want to exhaust myself, and I knew as soon as I started to lose, I would get pissed. So I thought, let's leave it at that with some good warm up.
Magnus, another feature chat question that I'll piggyback off of from Harry Osborne 72, who's asking about your mentality going into the Speed Chess Championship. And on top of that, you've been playing online tournaments on chess.com regularly, from Title Tuesdays to the Bullet Brawls, you know, unfortunately for some of us. Just kidding, of course. Could you tell us your favorite regular online event? Is it the SEC?
It's Title Tuesday. It must be Title Tuesday,
what is your
right?
preferred time control online?
It's SEC or Title Tuesday.
Yeah, I would say the Speed Chess Championship is
not surprising.
Yeah, it's by far my favorite event on chess.com. I really think that is.
No, the reason it's, I mean, we'll keep watching, but the reason he's saying the reason he's saying SEC is because the format with the timer in so many games, like 5-1, 3-1, 1-1, like all the different formats. I mean, it's just, it does make it more fun. Title Tuesday is 2 hours of blitz, so SEC has much more variety to it.
Yeah, it's sort of the pinnacle of speed chess, really, and it's the tournament that shows who's who. So I'm excited to be participating.
Well, you heard it here first, you guys, from Magnus himself, because like I've won the SEC 6 years in a row. So for all the haters out there who want to say that I'm just a terrible chess player, you heard it from Magnus himself that it shows who's who. So who's who exactly. Let's keep going. Who is Hikaru? Exactly. Who is who? I mean, who's who? Let's keep going.
Try and do even better than last time.
One question from the chat as well. Magnus, could anything change your mind to play in the World Championship if the format changes?
The big question.
From Phantom Lover.
Phantom Lover, okay.
I think specifically the games would have to be shorter.
Yep. Okay.
If I were to, let me preface this by saying that I'm not intending to put any pressure whatsoever on FIDE or trying to change the format. This is just my thoughts and my opinion. The one non-negotiable point for me, if I ever were to play the World Championship again, is that there would have to be more games and shorter time controls. And I think specifically 2 games in a day is
okay.
It's very, very interesting. And then time control could be, for
60
instance,
minutes? 45 or 60?
For instance, an hour.
Okay, so 60. Okay, 60. Yeah.
Some increment at some point.
Yeah. So basically, I think what Magnus is saying here is he's saying that what he would prefer is essentially 2 games of basically. I mean, you can call it slow rapid or fast classical, whatever you want to call it to, but basically he's saying he would prefer 2 games of games where both players get like 1 hour with, let's just say, 30-second increment for move 1, just an example. So 2 games a day, and then probably, I'm guessing, when Magnus says more games, he's essentially saying that you probably have 10 days of 2 games a day, so basically like 20 games. That's what he's saying. He's saying that he would like essentially something like 10 days with 2 games, so 20 games total of game with 60 minutes for the entire game. So you still probably get about 4 hours or 5 hours of gameplay, but it's over 2 games that are done quicker. That's essentially the way that I understand what Magnus is saying here. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but when he says more games, he's saying more than like 12 or 14. So I'm guessing he probably thinks something like 10 games with 2 games a day of game 60. That's my take. It's rare, but I don't agree with him. It depends what your take is as far as like preparation goes and or, you know, quote unquote perfect play.
With classical
probably with rest days. Yes, with rest days.
There is just no way that I'm.
No way. Okay.
That's unambiguous enough. Magnus, we appreciate your insights. I think it's time for...
No, actually, you guys are asking a question. You're saying you like 90 minutes with no increment. You can't do that. And I'll tell you exactly why you can't do that. Because if you had a time... I'm actually going to give you guys a hot take. If you were to play chess with 90 minutes on the clock and no increment, I very strongly believe that the best player in the world would be Fabiano Caruana. And the reason that I say that is because Fabiano's preparation, in my opinion, is better than anybody else. And the amount of time you're going to have to burn in the opening against Fabiano, you're going to get low on time. I mean, you're going to have to spend 20, 25 minutes at the start of the game, and you're going to feel massive pressure on the clock because you have no increment. So you're going to feel a lot of pressure if you're down 20 to 25 minutes from the start, and it's going to be very, very brutal. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think without increment, the preparation gets magnified significantly. With no increment, no more time added, I think you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Like Fabiano and Anish would do extremely well because you're going to feel really, really nervous. You're going to be really nervous. Like when Fabi blitzes out some novelty and you just spend 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and you're down to an hour, you're down to 15 minutes very quickly. You can't keep using time because you don't get any more time. So I think you'd be in a lot of trouble. Magnus better prepared. He was at one point. I think nowadays, I would say once again, I think Fabiano is probably the best prepared player in the world, or very close to it. What Magnus is saying with reduced time in a sense is true, except you get increments. So with increment, you can afford to use the time. With no increment, you just have no shot because you're going to have to move quicker because you're in huge trouble. So let's keep going.
Us to let you off for your well-deserved rest. One more massive congratulations on your first World Cup victory. And thank you so much for offering your insights and your thoughts here in the studio. Thank you, Magnus, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. You do an awesome job. And I've enjoyed listening to you guys a lot on the rest days I've gotten, or the tie breaks rather. So keep up the good work, and the thanks to everybody who's watching us as well. Much appreciated.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying that I have terrible prep either. I think my prep is decent, but I think that Fabiano's prep is really, really good. Really good. Watch another interview. I think we're good. I think we're good for right now. But yeah, I would say, would I vote for the format change? I mean, to wrap the full circle on this, I suspect that you guys will probably see events with similar formats to what Magnus wants in the near future. That's what I will say on the topic for right now, you guys. So there you have it. Pretty good stuff though. Pretty good interview with Magnus, and you know, obviously we'll see what the future holds, and nothing but congrats to Magnus for winning the World Cup. Definitely very, very well deserved. As I said in my recap on YouTube, the only time I thought Magnus truly was in trouble was against Vincent. That's the only time. That's the only time that I really felt like he was in trouble in the that was the only time that I think he was in trouble in the entire World Cup. So one time that he was really struggling. So yeah, it's all good.